Hey guys, Ben Labadie here, and I'm again with Henry Savek, and this is Business
Hey,
Entrepreneur
Joe.
Weekly, where we talk about what's going on with local business. And there's always a lot to talk about with the new rules and new things opening and things wanting to be open. So last Friday, we did see them opening some patios with some restrictions in place. People are allowed to cut hair again with restrictions in place. So there's a lot of restrictions. Henry, tell me, have you been out? Have you done anything?
I've been out a bit, not as much as you. You'll tell us in a minute, but I was out again. I'm getting the sense I'm getting the sense that people are just jumping right back to the way things were. I mean, I was at the grocery store, rules are out the window. People were going down the wrong way all the time. Didn't care. I kept asking people because they were shopping for things like lettuce and stuff for a long time, and I'd say, "Is it okay if I pass you?" They go, "Oh, yeah, just go ahead. Don't worry about it." So I would pass around. I think we're getting. I think that there's only a few things that will stick with us, and I think very shortly we'll be back to just the same behaviors as we had before this. I
Yeah,
really
you
do.
know what?
I don't know.
Hey guys, if you've been out, if you've got your haircut, or if you've went to a patio, if you've had a drink somewhere, or lunch or something outside, let us know where you went, how your experience was. I started it off right away. Okay, Daniel cannot. He's already been to three patios. Tell us what your experience was like and how it was. I started off Friday. I went out about 11:30 in the morning to Mike's place here in Chatham,
Hmm.
and it was a pretty cool process. Everything was easy. You walk in, well, you don't walk in. You sit, you stand at the patio, and it says, "Please wait to be seated. A server will be with you." Server comes to get you. You go through a kind of like a sanitation zone,
Okay.
and you put sanitizer on, and then they bring you to a table. All the tables are 6 feet apart. Um, and then a waitress comes and they give you your menu, which is also your placemat, which I believe they throw out at the end. And when you leave, they totally sanitize that table again. Now, there was one incident where a guy came in and sat down at a table and didn't really, he wanted a different table and he got up after 2 seconds and went and sat at a different table. Now,
Why did
I've
he
done
want
that.
it different? Why did he want it different? I'd just be happy to get one nowadays.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? I
Yeah,
think.
me too, but like I've done that in the past, so I'm not going to blame the guy.
Yeah.
I would blame him on it's new to a lot of people.
Yeah.
He's an older gentleman,
Yeah.
but I've done it in the past. But he gets up and goes to another table, and the waitress had to go clean the entire table and the
Oh,
chairs.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I watched the whole thing happen in real time. So it was they were really um, taking the restrictions serious. Everything was
Hmm.
clean. And it was a very, very unique experience, but it was fun. People were excited. I believe the confidence, and like you just said, people going back to normal. I think people went back to normal
Yeah,
right
the
away.
anxiety there seems to be less anxiety. I think there was a study out today that well over 50% aren't afraid to go out anymore. I just think that when you look at what's happening, I used to say it takes years sometimes to change a behavior. I think it
Hmm.
does take a long time. And I think as a business challenge is what modifications do you need in your business to get through this next period? Okay. And then how many of those behavioral changes in customers will be long lasting? I think that list is diminishing. I think there's fewer and fewer things people want to do differently. And I think they want to get back to normal. They want to be in a crowded bar. They want to be in a crowded restaurant. They want to, do what they did before. And I think we're seeing that's happening. And I don't know the answer. I just think as a business, if we make too many changes, I think we're going to be not needing them probably 6 months from now.
Yeah, I found it really interesting. I think what I saw was people happy to feel somewhat normal,
Mm-hmm.
to be on a patio and back to that. And I really believe that when people sat down, a lot of their anxiety went away.
Well, human
Like it
contact too, right? I mean, we want to be around people. I think the office thing is in reverse now. I think people are realizing when they work from home, it's kind of lonely. They want to be back in an
mm,
office setting, and I think we're seeing that when you follow some of the real estate office sort of situations. Those REITs are
Yeah.
increasing in value again because people say, hey, maybe I'll work from home on Friday or something, but I want to be with my colleagues at the office. The commute now, if you're
Right.
in Toronto, you may not be saying that because you don't want to commute again. But in our community of Chatham Kent, and we've talked about from a business standpoint, we have an incredible opportunity to, if we just, I mean, we don't have high speed everywhere, but if we had high speed, everywhere, I think you'd see an incredible, we've talked about this before, an incredible influx of people who want a better quality of life. They still want to go to offices, but they want to work from home at times. But if we had
Yeah.
communities that had better internet, I think it would be outstanding for us. I really do.
I do believe that's one of the things that Chatham Kent has to tackle is high speed internet everywhere, because that's probably one of the biggest obstacles that we face in our area is not having that to do all the things you just said mentioned there.
Well, I'm with the local guys out of, I think is it Dresden, the farmer who started and put up his own dish, and now he has, I think, 400 of us customers. I didn't bring his card or anything. I don't want to push it, but it's an amazing system. We get 40 megabytes download and 10 upload here in the country.
Okay, so that's pretty good for the country, yeah.
For us, it's
For
fantastic.
sure.
Yeah, not as good as the co-working space, but it's still good.
Hey, Carrie Lynn, how are you?
Hi, Carolyn.
A.T. Gorman.
You're doing pizza, Ben. You
you
forgot to mention pizza. You forgot.
I'm
pizza
not going to forget it right now because you just reminded me. So, hey, guys, throw a comment in the comment section today, and you could win. All you got to do is comment below to
Hi,
possibly
AT.
win. And, you could win a large pizza and a pound of wings from Constantino's Pizzeria, Pizza and Wings here in Chatham on LaCroix Street. So all you have to do, like usual, comment. All you have to do is say hi, just like A.T. Gorman just said, or participate in the conversation. We always encourage people to participate in the conversation because really, we want to know what you think. We really do want to know what your experience is like. Are you confident to go out? Are you comfortable to go out? And what are you doing? Have you gone to get a haircut? Have you got your nails done? Stuff like that. So very interesting stuff.
Hey, Ben, question. Do you think people could tell us what they think will change forever and won't? Like, is there a few things they will think will change forever when they go out shopping or go to a business? That's what I'd be interested in. Because as I said, I think that list is shrinking. And I wonder what people think. I think the cleanliness is great. I mean, washing your hands all the time, we should be doing that. And I don't know if they're going to change your entire. Well, they change the tablecloths in restaurants anyway when you leave, don't they? They don't leave the same stuff there, do they? Back before COVID.
No, they don't. But I don't think you're going to see tablecloths as much.
All right, okay, that would be expensive. Those costs must be mounting for restaurants to do all this, right?
So so the costs that I see is everybody has to wear a mask or a shield. That's what it appears to me that they have to do. But the disposable menus, those are pieces of paper that they're handing out. Everybody's accepted that. The not having to remove a tablecloth might be a bonus too. Now, not every restaurant's going to do that, but it seems to me where I was looking, it was simpler, right? It was easier. It seemed to be a little bit less work for. I went out to Boston Pizza, and they can't just go to your table and get rid of everything right away, like a normal wait staff would do. Is okay, you're done with this, we'll take it away. It all happens at the end, pretty much.
Do you find yourself being more relaxed, Ben? Like, were you more relaxed in it, or were you concerned about certain people coughing and stuff, or were you just relaxing and just like you would before?
I'll tell you, I was concerned about myself coughing. Yeah, I wasn't concerned about anybody else coughing. Yeah. I was concerned about myself coughing and how that would look. So I don't know if, and even on the show, like I coughed a little bit before going on the show. It's like, wow, I can never do that, right?
You think? So you really think that? Don't you think that's changed a little bit even since last week? People are a little more mellow about it, because most people who get tested do not have COVID. They have a cold or something if they have symptoms.
Yeah, I think the people I seen out and communicating, they seemed happy. They didn't have any concerns. Again, like I said, my only concern was myself and how I appear to others, right? So I think I don't know when that goes away for me, but I feel like I'm self-conscious.
Well, I didn't know what to say either. Like, I was in a store today and I'm paying, and a person in a mask, there weren't too many people in a mask, but the person in the mask is creeping up, and I'm still
Right.
paying, right? But they're creeping up. And I didn't know, like, because they were getting in my space. I didn't know if I should have said, whoa, just because you got a mask doesn't mean you should creep. But then I thought, no, I didn't say anything. I just kind of moved a little bit and finally got out of there. But people, she looking at her phone, didn't care, just started walking, moving. I'm thinking, just give me some space. I don't know if that culture, have we changed that in business? Like, are people, you think those rules will change? Because it seemed like we're back to normal. It didn't seem today that, other than the odd mask, I didn't see anybody doing a lot of different things today. And
Yeah,
the roads were
I still
crazy.
see.
People were driving
Yeah,
everywhere today.
I do notice that people are giving a little bit more space than normal
Okay.
than before. That's what I kind of noticed, but I do believe that a lot of people are going back to normal. I do see some masks. I'm probably out more than you are,
Mm.
so the sample size of seeing people is a little bit different. So let's see here. Do you feel, At Gorman? Do you feel that there will be a second pandemic because of these people going back to the same as before, not following social distancing? You want to tackle that, or with your
Well,
thoughts, Henry?
I think in business, I think everybody's prepared for it, and they're kind of assuming there's going to be spikes. Like when they said they tested 22,000 people in Ontario yesterday, and they found 186 people. I was doing the math, and that's not a lot of people for 22,000. And they didn't say how many
Mhm.
of that 186 had symptoms or not, and if any had to go to the hospital, and if any were seriously. So I think as a group in business, I think we're starting to accept that the infections are part of our life right now. That it's sort of
Yeah,
like if we hear about them, providing they're not happening in nursing homes and they need to obviously take care of those places and hospitals, but I don't think people are going to be as impacted. At if it
yeah,
does come up, that's just from a business standpoint. So that's how I'm thinking on the business side. I think it's not going to be, oh, we're going to retreat. I don't see us ever going back to a shutdown. I don't
no.
see that.
Do you find when you're watching media or seeing things, you're not hearing and seeing as much about death? You're hearing about cases, but it's not always nonstop about coronavirus, COVID-19 death.
But we
And I
need to know.
think,
Yeah, I agree with you totally. What
and I
happened to
think that's
ventilators?
changed.
We made all
Yeah,
these 50 grand ventilators. Where are they all? What are we doing with
yeah.
them? Like, I'm
Well, they
glad
found
we don't need them,
that,
but
yeah, they didn't even need everything that they had. All the field hospitals that were built.
yeah.
Chatham Kent had a field hospital that they made at St. Clair College, I believe.
Did we ever use? We never needed it, did we? Thankfully.
We barely had any cases. So, um,
But being ready was
it's
good.
not,
I mean, I think you got to
yeah,
give them credit for saying, hey, if the because we
yeah,
thought, let's be honest, it was going to
right.
get pretty. But from a business standpoint, I think things are very quickly. There's an acceptance, I think, of people now.
I definitely think we turned the corner there where people are not as scared
Yeah.
because, all the things that were scary never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Everything that was scary, all that fear of lock yourself indoors, it's coming, we're all gonna get it. And it never happened. Like locally.
Yeah. My
Locally, we were not as affected.
my biggest fear for a social issue is we've forgotten about. We're going to forget very quickly some of the social things that were sort of magnified with this. Like if you look at the addiction issue, I don't have any stats today, but I understand that the addiction issue or people who have perished because of addictions is getting close to what COVID took from us. Like there's
Right.
an is that have you heard Ben? Is that closer? I know it's become much more difficult, but I don't know if it's
Well, I'll tell you, I see things, read other people's statuses, and it appears that there's a lot of overdoses
mm,
and drug issues.
mm-hmm.
Um, a family member of mine was in the hospital the other day and had to be taken by ambulance, and everything's okay now.
Oh, good,
But they
thank
were in the hallway. They had to go into the hallway because there seemed, from what that person had said, a lot of overdoses coming in. So they had to
wow.
move that person into the hallway. That's where they were about for 5 or 6 hours.
We can't
So
forget about those problems. We just
yeah,
we were so desperate to get back to normal. We're forgetting what this has really told us about some of our communities in our world about problems that we need to deal with, and that's very concerned.
Yeah. Carolyn, very happy for my mother's sake that golf courses are now open. My dad is amazing at it, and I think he was driving mom nuts. He and always been a good go 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 kind of guy. He got the first 2020 hole in one of at the Links of Kent.
Oh, very good.
Impressive.
That's very impressive.
That's pretty quick.
Ben,
That's
do you have
pretty
a
quick.
list? Do you have any things, behavior that you think in business people have changed forever, or do you think we're pretty much 100% going back to the way it was?
I think people have are starting to think, how do you pandemic proof your business so that you can continue to sell something or do business if this were to happen again.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Maybe they want to have a loophole, right? So the thing behind Walmart, you could buy anything at Walmart because they had groceries, right? So I could go buy a basketball, a soccer ball, a kayak, a TV at Walmart, and I don't believe those are essential, but because they had groceries, those became essential. So
Right.
I have actually been in conversation with business owners where they said, well, maybe if I sold milk and bread as well, right? That I could stay open and sell clothing, right? So I've seen people trying to figure out a way to diversify what they sell and move more to an online setup so that they don't have to depend on the retail end of being a retail shop, that there's other options. And some of them have been happier, some have been like, no, this didn't work out at all. I set up an online shop, I sold two things, and they would have came in to get them.
What about access to capital for bad days? Like, do you think there'll be a change in, trying to have more savings or lines of credit to keep your business in case you have a few months where things are difficult for whatever reason?
Well, I think that, and I think contracts with lease agreements will be different. As if there is a pandemic, I don't want to be paying rent. How do we get through a pandemic? Right. So I do believe lease agreements in the future will totally change because of this. I mean, the
You do, eh?
government totally.
In real estate, you think in your business it's going to change, huh?
If I haven't seen anybody talking about it, I'm just thinking out loud here. But if I had a client looking to lease an area, I'd say, you know what, you might want to consider seeing if we can write this in, that if a pandemic happens, that you cannot generate any income from your location because the government shut it down, that you have either a reduced rate, you only want to pay 50% or 25% in the event that something crazy happens again, but we've already proven that it can happen, Henry.
Yeah.
So why not be prepared? If you had all these, I mean, it's not good for landlords, right? It's not good for landlords, but for businesses, I see a lot of people going out of businesses because of the rent. If they didn't have all these expenses, they would still have the other expenses in their life, but they could put the business on hold.
I think,
right?
like most things, it'll depend on the quality of the building and the quality of the place where this building is being held. Because if you're a landlord and you don't take care of your buildings and you're not in good locations and I think that's more. But I don't see a lot of landlords doing that, Ben. I wouldn't sign that lease.
I wouldn't do it. This is where it's
or something. I would say.
Well, I think this is where negotiation happens, because both sides don't want. One side doesn't want to be at risk, and the other side doesn't want to be at risk. How do they meet in the middle? But if you look at the future of, retail space, all right, people are in restaurant space. They're going to have smaller spaces, right? Because they focus more on takeout, right, and pickup. And people got used to take out and pick up a little bit more. And that business for some, especially, Constantino's, the pizza, like, again, the pizza that helps us here and we're giving away just by people commenting, they've been very, very busy because people are doing more takeout, right? And they're picking up.
Yeah, but I mean, there's another spider piece to this, which is the owner of that $200,000 building in Chatham is paying almost $10,000 in taxes a year. So the owner is paying $800 a month in taxes. So how
Mhm.
much can the pizza guy pay him? Because we're not even
Right.
including the investment or all the other costs. So I think there's another piece to this. Does that mean that if you have a building that is occupied, you're going to be paying more taxes because they took away the vacancy thing for business? So if your
Mhm.
building is empty, you're paying the same taxes now pretty much as if it was
Yeah.
full. They used to give you a break for a vacant building, but they took that away. And,
Mhm.
and so, as a business owner, what do you think that's going to do? You're in real estate. What's that going to do for real estate? If you have a bunch of buildings that are empty, paying this $10,000 a year taxes or whatever it may be, depending on the value of the building, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I tell you what's going to happen. It's going to be, it's going to bring down the rental price, the lease price per square foot, and it is going to open the door for negotiation for businesses to make that kind of deal that I kind of proposed a couple minutes ago. Right? Because landlords are, it's going to be like landlords want people in those buildings paying them to pay those taxes,
Mm,
right? And I think it's going to drive down commercial costs, like commercial real estate leases. I see a lot of places up for lease,
yeah.
uh, and the prices weren't as high as they were a year ago,
Well, being a
right?
business, taxes really impact the climate for business. And so,
Yeah.
what we're going to see is less opportunity because if you're a landlord or an owner of a building, it might be better to make it an empty lot. I don't
Yeah.
know how many of these people. I just want to mention something Natasha said. Is it? I said that right? Right, Natasha. I didn't want to
Yep.
misspell your name. But as if you had a business that catered to children, I would be really furious because there's no science to say children are impacted negatively by COVID, and the federal government site says that in Canada, not one child has died from COVID, thankfully. So
Hmm.
as a parent, you have to wonder, and as a business owner, say you run a camp or you run gymnastics or some type of training for kids, why do they have to be shut down? Do you get that, Ben? If you had a
Yeah.
business dealing with children, how would you respond?
Well, I tell you what, Henry, I've been running I just started today, this morning, opening up to other kids other than my son's friends for a fitness training program. I call it Fit
Okay.
Kids Training Camp,
Nice, nice.
and
So like Fight Club, you
and
got to sneak around with the name and hide till where you figure out where you're having.
well, I tell people, here's message me for the location. Um, but but the amount of people that have contacted me that
Mhm.
are not maybe available, like this is for a certain age group and a certain skill level,
Right.
um, but all these parents are like, I gotta get my kid into something,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
They can't take them to a pool, they can't take them to a splash pad, they can't take them to any sort of camp,
Right.
right? And they've removed everything from kids. They've removed all sports. And I don't see them coming back anytime soon. I think this is where people just have to step up and open up protest camps for people that want to get their kids and things so that they can just do it.
Do you think there'll be an acceptance that certain businesses won't make it, or do you think we're going to help all of them? Because some of these sectors, it just seems from a business standpoint, are going to have an extreme difficulty if this window until there's a vaccine or until there's more acceptance takes over. I don't know how they can continue to go on without any revenue.
I think I don't think people have realized like that the actual damage to businesses,
Hmm.
and not only the damage to businesses, but the effect that has on the local community. When
Hmm.
you think about a fundraiser for your kids' hockey team, or a fundraiser for the Girl Guides, or selling cookies or selling pizzas to
Hmm.
raise money from whatever, you go to small local businesses. They're the most available. You can't get a hold of somebody at Walmart too quick, but you can get a hold of somebody at your local restaurant or home, these little areas, these little small, not little, but small business. And when they aren't doing well, they can't contribute what they did. And everything from helping out the homeless to the food bank to kids' activities, that all gets affected pretty big. The children's treatments are that, things like that all don't get those same contributions, and at that point, we will really start to feel the effects. But I don't think people are. I don't think they've really understood the impact on their local small business. Because a lot of people think if you see a business, they're automatically rich and they have enough money to get through it, and that's simply not true.
I want
And we're
to,
finding that out.
if I could say to Chris, Chris mentioned something about landlord programs. So we have some properties in Ontario and Nova Scotia, and we had one commercial tenant who was having trouble, and we gave them because of business. So we gave them three choices: one, you can keep doing what you're doing now, which isn't an option; two, we'll defer all your rent for a period of time, so you don't have to pay any rent till it starts getting better, and then we'll just add a little bit on till you pay it off later. Or three, we'll apply for the government rental program. The government rental program where you apply and
Yeah.
we eat 25%, the tenant eats 25%, and the government's supposed to contribute 50%. So luckily, my wife Mary took the day and a half to fill out the forms, and we finally got them in. Still haven't heard anything. And this was supposed to be, I think, for April, May, June, or June, July. Anyway, it's so even though as a landlord you try to do some of these things, it's not lickety split, and it's quite a process. Now, in the meantime, the tenant doesn't have to pay any rent till we figure this out. I think April was the last time the tenant would have had to pay rent. We just put that toward that 25%. So hopefully for 3 or 4 months, the tenant won't have to pay any rent, the commercial tenant. But the government's a little slow. As you know, today, then they announced that program that they announced 4 weeks ago that was going to take a week starts this Friday, where people who have a small business and didn't have $20,000 of
Right.
paying out employees can now apply for a line of credit for $40,000. And that starts on Friday. So there's some help on Friday for other small businesses. I'm not sure. Do any other criteria besides having a business account? Do you have to have paid so much in expenses the year before or something? Or
I do not know. I haven't read it.
I thought
No.
maybe you had to have some level of spending on expenses, but I'm not sure of that. We'll find out on Friday. But again, the government's trying to help, and all props to them. But sometimes these programs that get announced 4 weeks ago happen now, and they're still not sure. And then the CERB, they're going to continue the $2,000 a month, but they're not sure when
Yeah.
or how or how you qualify, whether they're going to arrest you or not if you go. I mean, this it's kind of confusing. And I think one message we've learned from all this: try to take care of yourselves. Whether
Yeah.
it's put a little bit away every month if you can. If you're a business, you try to have a reserve fund or line of credit for your business, because it's great when we get help from government, but it's kind of not something you should depend on.
All right. Now let's go to this one here. So if you go to a restaurant and only able to dine at the patio, are you able to use the restroom inside of the restaurant, or this is no? Anita, you can use the bathrooms at the restaurants I went to. They have a different setup. For example,
Great.
Mike's Place, you actually gotta walk around the building and come in the back. Boston Pizza, you go in one door. So they are operational. They do have the washrooms. I'm guessing that they have to clean them more often than they were ever before. So yes, that is still a go. Let's see here. No, because people are terrified still. So many have fear, but those people, by and large, stay home nowadays. And I think the people that do have the greatest fears do stay home.
Do you think there's still a
And
lot of people who don't go out at all, like haven't been out much? I don't know how common that is, but
I think it's pretty. I think it's more common than you think.
is that right?
And it's the people that have been staying home the whole time, right?
Mm.
So that's kind of there's a lot of people staying home. I know that. I've been
So
ridiculed for
economically,
going
then,
out.
are you predicting? You know how they talk about a V curve, which means quickly we go back to the way it was economically, an L, which means we don't do much for a very long time, or kind of like a U, we come out of it slowly. What do you think is going to happen, business wise?
It really, in my opinion, it's what the government allows. If the government gives the people the go ahead to open up restaurants, they will pack.
Yeah.
I'm confident they will pack. Um, you will still have so it really all depends on what the government. People are, they really want to go back to normal. They feel they need to go back to normal. When I saw people out, they were like, wow, we're doing it, about
Yep.
time. And that's not the entire population, and I understand that, and I do see that there's a lot of people that are going to be staying home, and that's fine too. until they're comfortable. But there's a lot more people out there that are confident and optimistic, and although aware, not letting the fear stop them from going out and living their life that like they normally wanted to do.
Just remember, most entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs because they don't like taking orders from anyone. So when you
Mhm.
tell an entrepreneur they can't cut hair or they can't do this, it's not a real popular or accepted thing. So I think, like you, I agree. As soon as people feel they're confident, I think very quickly by the end of this month, people are going to be doing pretty much what they want when they want. I think the credibility of a lot of these organizations isn't quite. I heard the best explanation of COVID the other day response. I'll just give you this for 2 seconds. They talked about the best solution is put everybody in a room, put an expert on health, an expert on virology, a business person, a politician, political expert in a room to say, okay, how do we do a pattern that doesn't hurt anybody, but takes care of every area? So you don't just totally say, okay, we're shutting down everything because the health person says you have to. You listen to the health person, but you also listen to the economic, the spiritual, the business, the thing, and you come up. And they said there's only, I think, Japan and one other country that did that. The leaders listened to the group of people who got together. Everyone had mutual respect. And that's why they came up with policies in some of these countries where you still had to socially distance, you had to test, but you didn't close down all the businesses. And small
Mhm.
businesses could stay open just like Walmart could. So in the future, hopefully, we've learned from this, and this is all about the future for business and also our lives. If we can take a balanced approach to these kinds of things, I think everybody's going to be benefited from this.
Yeah, I do think, from Nicole, I do think, like you say, many are seeing the risks of isolation and feeling it, so they're happy to have local businesses open. I do also see more local support than ever before, so some things are positive from all this. So yeah, I agree with Nicole. I do see a lot of that local support, and that's really good. That there's energy there to help out. I think there's energy to look out for your neighbor if that and now we're realizing that local business is our neighbor,
Well, I'm concerned.
right?
Like I tried 4 times to get strawberries down the road in 4 different days, and today I finally hit the jackpot because the Apple place had some. But Pardo still has his people in Blenheim near Blenheim. There, he still has his people isolated because the people say. And I
Right.
keep common sense business brain. I'm thinking it's a big strawberry field. Can't you put people in a strawberry field if they have no symptoms? Like it's not like they're hurting or anything. They want to work. Why can't you do that? And as a business owner, I don't get that. Every time I go there, I feel bad. I go look and I feel bad for the local business who can't operate. He's got great product. It's a
Mhm.
window that's like a few weeks, and he's got people isolated in a building, all separated, because they need to be for some reason. We
Yeah.
didn't have a group of people in the room that decided that policy for the agricultural industry.
Yeah. I think if we had a better testing system, um, if that's the case, give them all a test, give them the result tomorrow, let them go back to work. Um, Instead of this 14 days where, you're having somebody that's not affected, hasn't been exposed, who isn't sure, but has to sit for 14 days.
Well, I understand
So,
local business workers have tried to help and they're helping him, but I
yeah,
don't think it's the same as having the skilled. It's a very skilled position to harvest fruit properly without damaging it and doing it quickly and still being able to do it. So it's hard work, but it's also skilled work, skilled labor. So I
right.
I feel bad, like you talk about. I feel bad for those folks who can't do their businesses because of that.
Yep. Hey, Crystal, how you doing tonight? Let's see here. Free road hockey, Jonathan North.
Yeah, whatever happened. We talked road hockey before. What's going on with road hockey?
I'm tired of getting fat and I want to play some road hockey. Like we all know each other. Like I don't see it being a problem other than me getting fat.
You can't play
And I
road
put
hockey
on
then
weight too.
anymore. You can't. You can't.
Well, they say you can't play organized sports, but you can, in my opinion, have a group of 10. And that's 3-on-3 hockey. That's 6 people out there. Uh, if it were me and I really wanted to play road hockey and I had other people playing road hockey, I'd just do it and use the 10 rule that they put out there. So I think there's a space for them to at least manipulate the rule. I mean, they said you can have a group of 10.
Yeah, they
Have a
did.
group of 10 go play hockey.
But don't they have
So
to be in your bubble? You can't be with any other 10 people or something. Isn't there some rule?
I did not see anywhere where there's no bubble. And if you're going to a restaurant, you are near other people. So, you know, 10, or if you go to church, just call it church hockey church. I don't know. But I believe if you want to play road hockey, I believe there's a rule. There's a way to get road hockey
Have
going.
you been talking to the local rule makers there, Ben? I know last time you kind of opinionated on the local rule people. How are you feeling about the local?
Well, I was critical of Dr. Colby not opening the pools, or disallowing the opening of pools, because and the reason being is that it doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I'm not a doctor. Okay, it doesn't make sense to me to allow one of these things and disallow another thing, because it doesn't make sense to me how you can do both, right? Allow this and not allow this. It
Mm-hmm.
just, for me, it doesn't make sense, and that's why I'm critical. I'm also critical because I have kids, so I see what's going on with kids. I see what's going on with their friends. They need activity, and I don't think they're the lowest risk bracket of any humans. You know,
Fair.
kids that, especially kids that are active, healthy kids that are active, are the least affected of all. Right. And I understand the concept of, okay, the kid goes there and is exposed to another asymptomatic kid, and then they bring it back to their grandma and their grandma gets it. I understand that argument. But, you know, if you do the social distancing and you still, with the vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which is very, very possible, right? If you do the social distancing with the vulnerable and you're always aware and more aware every day about how do we keep the vulnerable safe, I believe there's a way for kids to be active and be kids again. I really think that kids have to get out there. They're missing, my kids are 10 and 12. How many summers do we get, as humans?
I know.
And these are important summers. These are important summers with their friends, right?
Has
School
construction
is important. Go ahead.
have construction sites changed at all? Like, can you have 15 people working on a building, or do you have to cut it to 10 now, or do you know what's going on in construction?
I do not know, but it looks like there's a lot of construction going on that I've noticed. And I think it's just a matter of them taking steps to be safe.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of they have to ride in the same vehicles to job sites. Um, there's, 2 to 4. I know one local business owner is really taking the extra steps to give each individual person their own truck, all right,
Okay.
to get to job sites, to take that extra step. And that's pretty impressive.
How's the real
And
estate? Because I know that's the business you're in. How's it going with real estate right now with you? What are you seeing in real estate?
I think, well, the prices are staying pretty solid in our area because the inventory is very low,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, if you're, wanting a house, I mean, it's going to be hard to get a house under 250,000. And if they all stay there and there's not many, you're going to continue to pay those high prices. I don't know what the future is, but if we don't get back to fully working and people making the income that they made, and if they get rid of the emergency relief benefit there, then if that all dries up, then people have to sell their houses, and then you'll see a drop in real estate, right? I also feel you're seeing calls to reduce immigration, and immigration buys houses, right?
Reduce. Who
And
wants to reduce? Hang on. Who wants to reduce immigration in business?
well,
Do you know very many business
well,
people?
not in business, but you
No.
you see, I see a call for, we got to be like closing the borders. I mean, we've closed the borders,
Yeah.
right? I want the borders open myself, but the more we keep those borders closed, the more we, make sure to put more measures in place to keep people from coming to Canada. I
Mm.
think that really affects who buys, because for the last few years, new Canadians have been buying a lot of property,
Yeah, and
right?
starting
And
businesses, the entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, people
yeah,
sometimes from other countries seem to have a real entrepreneurial motivation,
yeah.
right? Because
So
that's one of the few
so
avenues.
if we can get those borders back open, and I think you'll see. Again, I think if they can just click that button and allow us to go back to normal, we won't have to worry as much. We won't have to worry about the real estate dropping anytime soon.
Yeah. Okay. And so it's still there's a shortage of supply.
The shortage of supply is keeping the prices steady,
I'm not
right? But
seeing
there's
any
an 18%.
country building. Like I'm not seeing any houses going up in the country. There's one across the street from us going up, actually,
Mhm.
out here in the country. It's the
Yeah,
first time I've seen a house built for quite a while.
yeah. Well, there's still in Chatham. There's still building going on. Lots of building, but that was already in play.
Mm-hmm.
Before this all happened. So that's just playing out. And when does that stop? When does that kind of slow down? I don't know. But we'll see how the future comes. But we do have to get things. If you don't open things, people lose things. They lose that income, and they have to sell. And you take a lot of people who just had really good dual incomes,
Yeah.
and you lose one, things change drastically because those property taxes still have to be paid. The cars still has to be paid. The payments still come. The hydro, the
And
gas,
the
all these
property
things go.
taxes are worrisome because as revenues drop, and they haven't even fully experienced that yet, how else are they going to get more money? They don't know how to not spend more. So
Right.
it's not looking good on the property ownership side, I think.
As stated the other day, take up jogging, build that fitness for the road hockey starts. Um, I believe Peak Athletic Training, they have an outdoor area.
Okay.
It's a gym. They're more about personal training and kind of like very big into the youth athletics.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of like a specialty gym, right? And they, I believe, started today with a teen and adult program because they have a space out back. They've made it so that everybody is socially distanced and everything's safe and everything clean. I'm going to try to follow up with them to see how that went, how
Mm-hmm.
comfortable everybody was, and how many people went. But that was nice to see. But fitness, I think that's next. These gyms, which usually take up again more space,
Yeah.
that's a lot of square feet when a gym opens up and has
Yeah.
rented space. So I'd like to see them open. Again, I'd like to, they got to start. Somebody's
They
got to
should
take
be
the
open
lead and
now, man.
demonstrate.
If you can go to a restaurant, you can figure out a way to run a gym where there's so many ways. Like you could have an
Yeah.
app where you have to book your time. You can only have so many people in the gym at any one time. We use an app at the co-working space now where only one person, I think I told you, can go in the building at any time. We just use an app. And so people look and they say, okay, I've got 3 hours to work today. What? So there's all kinds of ways. And I think the concern we have in businesses when you rely on government, they're so slow to respond to things. Like it's so slow to do these kinds of things. And business doesn't have time. If someone hasn't been open for 3, 4 months, they don't have time to wait for a policy committee meeting on something. Like
Mhm.
let's just get going. And I think the gyms are a great example. I think the lack of common sense in having a farmer who has products to harvest and people need to be socially isolated in a building. I think people could get together with some coffee and figure it out pretty quick and help this person out.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of business decisions impacted by policy that where people don't consider because the people making the decisions, they're still getting paid. Your favorite person's probably what $250,000 a year for the local medical guy.
I'm not exactly sure, but I would guess it'd be in
200
that range.
plus. They're still getting paid. If they shut down the whole economy, they still all get paid. Our politicians
Yeah.
aren't going to Ottawa. They're still all getting their full salary and their $90,000 expense accounts. Everybody around here in politics still gets paid. They don't go to work. But the people who
Mhm.
do the work, they're not getting, the people who own the businesses, they're being impacted by these decisions.
Yeah.
And I think as a business group, and unfortunately, sometimes the BIAs need to step up more, and they're not doing that. We really
Right.
have small business has no real representation.
Mhm. Chris says, my wife's in healthcare. I've seen how slow these things roll out, these programs roll out. We are still waiting to learn more at the credit union as the government puts the plan and details out, hoping we can offer more help and proper solutions to our members very, very soon.
Thanks, Carrie Lynn. I think we've talked about the opportunities in the credit union. I think that's just going to continue to expand and other
Yeah.
means of helping small business.
My son usually gets signed up for soccer, Kid Venture summer camp, goes to the public pool, gets speech therapy at the Children's Treatment Center, visit the library, etc. Now he sits at home on one device or the others play in the yard, rides his bike down the street. He's getting stir crazy. We should be worried about the children's mental health. 100%.
I agree with you.
Like, like, I got my son's birthday coming up, and believe it or not, the greatest birthday party I can give him is probably a soccer game with other kids to show up to play soccer.
Well,
Right?
maybe it's just me, but is anybody else struck by the statistic on the government site that children are not seriously harmed by this disease? Does that not make you wonder why we have all these prohibitive policies against children exercising when children do not get sick from this beyond like no child has died from this.
Right.
I mean, six died of the flu this year. 0 from COVID. So are we supposed to shut down all children's programs every flu season? Like I don't know. As a business, I'm just wondering about that.
Well, it's concerning because, like, we talked about TJ Stables the other day, a local place does horse camps and that, and camps for kids, and that's a lot of their summer business, right? And they can't do that, or they're not supposed to be doing it, like with these camps. So it affects everybody, but I think sometimes, it seems like we're taking the safest possible policy or idea, and we don't know. Nobody wants to be responsible, and I understand that nobody wants to be responsible for a child, getting this coronavirus because of a decision they made, right? I understand that,
Well,
but
children get it; they just don't get very sick. It's like the flu.
right,
Someone needs to tell us maybe the statistic's wrong, and we should be afraid. I don't
yeah,
know. When you see that statistic, you say, "Well, what is the fear of a child going out and playing with other children?"
right. And this is where I get more concerned. Like, why can't we open up a pool? If the real reason is that we don't want to pay the money to hire the people to open the pool,
Just say
just
that.
tell us that. Tell us that, but don't say, we can't open a pool for kids, but everybody can go to Walmart no matter what, right? That just always will, I always see one person that comments on everything. So any kind of resistance he gets to opening up, he says Walmart, right?
Well,
That's it.
and the other thing, if children aren't allowed to play sports or get more active, people don't sell soccer shoes, they don't sell uniforms, they don't sell T-shirts. So it sort of goes to the entire economy, right? The person who does T-shirts in your community, I have more than T's in our community, they don't have places to buy sports athletic T-shirts, and
Right.
they're a small business and they do a great job, but it affects everybody. So I don't know. I think that's frustrating for small business owners.
Right. Once everything opens up, it'd be a good time to roll out the 4-day work weeks to spur the economy, more time off for those to have some money to spend. What do you think of that one?
Well, we've had 4-day work weeks in our clinics for probably 10 years now, I think it is. So we're Monday to Thursday. Everybody's off on Friday, and it's a 30-hour work week. And productivity went up, and people have a 4-day week when they have a stat day, and you get 52 Fridays off a year, and it's a wonderful way to work. And it happened 10 years ago or 11 when I was on a beach in New Brunswick, and I called the office on Friday, and I felt really guilty. So I came back and said, this is dumb. And I started watching people on Fridays, and I noticed that people on Fridays did all their work up to Friday and they weren't working as hard. So I thought, well, let's just do it. And we've done it, and it's been great. I think you could have a 4-day, and I've always, this, on saving our taxpayer money, you could certainly take the sunshine list and have them work 4 days a week. And unless you're in an essential service, I mean, if you're a doctor, obviously, or a nurse, but if you're not essential, you could save a lot of money and people would have a better quality of life because now you have 3 days off. And as I said, on a stat day, which is 10 times a year, you have a 4-day weekend.
Right. That's a
totally
good
agree with you.
Afraid because the migrant workers comes from fear, in my opinion. Do you think there's a little bit of fear behind policies with migrant workers?
The farmers that I know take very good care of the people that come, and many of them come many, many years. Like they've come 10, 20, 30 years to the same farms, and they're inspected and they're taken care of. And it's a it provides for their families wherever they're from. So I think I worry about there's a different thing happening with the virus because people where they come, I understand some of the countries they came from had absolutely no COVID experience. And they came here and all of a sudden everybody's got COVID, or I think the situation in Essex was pretty difficult. I don't know if something's going on with they haven't been exposed to some of the viruses we may have been exposed to, which made us maybe a little more resilient, or is it part of the dorm? There's a dorm living situation sometimes. I don't know, but I'm all for immigration, and I think my parents started as migrant workers. My parents worked on farms, and my mom worked. I remember playing at the end of a tomato row when I was 5. That's my daycare. I got a bushel to throw around, but I mean I'm very sensitive to migrant workers and people who work in that thing because that's what my parents did when they came to this country. So I totally understand it, and and from that perspective, I don't understand it obviously today, but I have a feeling for that. And I think today farmers take very good care, and it's federally inspected. I believe it's inspected quite rigid way.
Yeah. They have a bubble. It is a guideline, not a law. Okay.
What does that mean, Nicole? It's a guideline, not a law.
I think they're just kind of like social distancing. I mean, is there really a law that says you have to social distance? Or is
Like,
it a
could someone have a
guideline?
pig roast with 100 people, or would they get arrested? I'm not suggesting anybody do that. I'm just asking. Could you? I mean, what would like? You're not allowed to. I think you still can't.
I do believe you still can't. They've allowed groups of 10.
Right, that's what she's talking about. I think, Nicole.
Yeah, and I think what she's saying is that they could fine you and give you these fines, but if you fought it, you could probably win, based on it not being a real law, right? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so don't take any of my words. Like like again with Jonathan North, 10 guys are allowed to practice, but I have 17 players. I mean, you just have to, Jonathan. I hate to do this, but divide it up, right? Divide it up, 2 practices, or practice separately, but together. I don't know.
I really
There's
think
always ways.
Is temporary, Ben. I think I think by the end of June, by July, when we get to the Canada Day holiday, I think we're going to be back to normal.
I think after this weekend and everybody, I think it really goes by the confidence of the people, right? When you see everybody being confident, going back to normal and wanting more, the government has to give them more. They really do. Like, I believe it was the people that really forced the shutdown because, they were scared. They were, the government was forced to take an action.
Yeah.
To go with, and everybody agreed.
Mm-hmm.
We all agreed to it. We all agreed maybe this is the best idea because we didn't know. Nobody knew. So I think as they see people more confident, because they really sped up putting it up, opening up Friday.
Yeah,
right? That came out of nowhere.
One day to the next, right? All of a sudden, you wonder if this is more of a face saving than a reality database decision. Because some of the things that happened, like I happened to catch the premier one day when he said, it'll be soon, we'll talk about it. And then on Friday, bam, you can have 10 people over. Like, that was so quick. I thought, what's going on?
Right. Let's see here, Chris. More apt to go out if you have a couple days off plus a day of rest, right? Kids are always at this. Let's see here. Kids are always at the skate park. Why don't they just let kids play sports? Now, I run by the skate park. I drive by the skate park, and there was a lot of kids at the skate park.
I drove by today because I was taking my son from the VW guy, and I drove by, and it was a stack. There was just a bunch. There was probably 20, maybe 15 kids, young people, and they were all together. No one's masking it up, obviously, because it's athletics. That'd be hard to do. So they're playing. You could have had a soccer game go on, and I think that's what's frustrating for businesses who sort of cater to children. They should be able to, and hopefully in the future, very soon, that will happen. And I really think it'll be back to normal. I think you'll be seeing it probably within a few weeks, Ben.
Yeah, I think it could be sooner than that. I really like to see what the feedback is on what we had for the weekend. I mean, they opened up on the weekend. People went out. People are still going out. People are on patios, and the more that gets positive feedback, I think the more you have to move towards opening up a little bit more.
Well, Ben,
I
they
think the
said they
rules
tested.
are. Go ahead.
They said
Go
they
ahead.
tested 22,000 people yesterday in Ontario. There was 186 cases, as we talked about. That does. Is it just me? That doesn't seem like a high frequency. We're talking a number of those people probably were minor. I don't know. It just seems to me something's
Yeah.
changing. I mean, when you can test
Right.
22,000 people, that's a good sign for the testing process.
Yeah. Yeah. They have drive-through testing. They've been promoting. Just get tested. If you go on the 401,
Mhm.
there's actually signs on the 401. If you think you have COVID, get tested. Get
Really?
tested for COVID.
Oh,
Regular, like regular road signs.
well, we spent
Instead
90
of,
million on advertising, right? The feds, 90 million.
I tell you,
I hope it's a
they're
nice road
advertising as
sign.
what's that?
I hope it's a
Oh
nice
yeah.
road sign.
Well, even the road sign, the one sign had the actual like kind of like a test tube with the swab in it.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, it was a high
That's a
performance
good thing. That's a good thing.
sign. But I've heard their advertising everywhere. I've seen it everywhere, and I've read it everywhere. They've spent like a good amount of money. Good time to be in advertising. I think the rules are getting out of hand and very confusing. Just be smart and respect social distancing. And I think most people are. When people are out and you do see them, they're aware. They're more aware than we ever have been about giving space and keeping clean.
The only thing I think is going to stick from all this, Ben, really frankly, is keeping clean. I think sanitation, keeping
Yep.
hygiene, good hygiene, distance, washing your hands, how clean a business is, what's their cleaning policy. I think that's one of the few things that are going to stick with us when this gets through, when we're out of COVID. I think that's going to be
Right.
important.
Take a few from each team and make a few extra teams. Restructure to accommodate guidelines and should be okay. You're following the guidelines of 10, so what can they say? I think the concern is that kids will carry the virus and pass it along to the adults because kids would probably be asymptomatic and not really have those effects. It might be more likely that they would be more travel more, do more stuff, meet more people because they don't think they have a virus and spread it more. I think that would be a
Well, the
concern.
rates are also very low for people under the age of 40 without a
Right,
condition. There isn't even any indication. So it's really hitting seniors, as we know. And it's the same with
right.
the flu. How many times as a parent do you get the flu from your child who goes to school?
Yeah,
I mean, it's part of
absolutely.
having children. So I don't know.
And again, you go back to that new information of asymptomatic people not really being the super spreaders that was originally thought, which is the
Mhm.
real reason for social distancing, because people that have symptoms, obvious symptoms, hey, if you got symptoms, stay away. But the social distance is really in effect for the asymptomatic who don't have symptoms, who are not aware that they may be carrying the virus to not infect other people.
Well,
Uh,
Nicole wants to
doctors,
know about the
okay,
stats. You go to the federal government site. It's the Canadian federal government. I think I just Googled COVID statistics Canada, and it comes up and they show you. Um, I did an article for PR Reporters. It was as of June 8th at 8 p.m. Here are the statistics, and they break it down by age and all kinds of stuff throughout the country. So it's the federal government's um, sort of place where they put all the statistics for the public. So it's not any political thing. It's strictly the medical people putting it up there. And it's really helpful to know your risk because I went there because I want to know my risk. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell
right.
you when it tells you 93 children were diagnosed with COVID. It doesn't tell you if they had pre-existing or any other conditions, but it does tell you none of them have, thankfully, have died from COVID.
Right. Let's see here. At the beginning of this, the public healthcare system and the government made it clear that children and our elderly were most vulnerable. Just like the flu, the fear was installed. I get why parents are fearful. All
Yeah, I
right.
do.
Yes, but instead of putting a ban on children's play areas, put a ban on children being on close contact with the vulnerable. I think that's more likely. Um, in my opinion, your way of thinking is thinking outside the box, and I think people have difficulty taking risks. when we're talking about Business Entrepreneur Weekly, and that's the main focus of the show, I
Mm,
think the businesses are more likely to take risk. But at this point, because that's what you do, that's entrepreneurship.
right.
But right now they're doing it safely. They're what they are focusing on is being out there, getting open, doing it safely. So again, to make money, to support their business.
Hmm.
And I think a big part of that is being safe. I think they would like to get off. Absolutely, Dr. Savek. Let's see here, Craig Waters. What are the demographics? Why don't they show that age, race, chronic illness, people that are more susceptible, pneumonia, bronchitis, asthma? I think that is, if we had all that information that Craig's mentioning there,
Great
I
point.
believe a lot of us would be more comfortable, more confident, and
Yep.
more optimistic about the future.
Well, Craig, you want to understand your risk, right, Craig? So if you're in a certain group, you want to be even more careful than if you're not in that group or whatever. But on the site, it gives you the age. And the problem I have, they go 19 and under, right? 19 and under, zero deaths. And then they go under 40 to 19. But that's quite a bandwidth, right? And it doesn't tell you the poor, unfortunate folks in that age who passed away from 40 to 19 what conditions were they fighting? Was there anything else? Was there anything else that we need to be careful of if you're in that age group? How do you prevent that? We all want to know that, and we all want to then assess our risks. And I'm not sure why that information isn't. I understand confidentiality, obviously, with medical health, but as a group, you could give us some indication of what we're talking about. I mean, it helps you make decisions as an adult and as a parent of what to do.
Absolutely. Jonathan North, how is none of it? Zero cases and the rest of Canada doing better than Ontario and Quebec? And why is Ontario, Quebec doing terrible compared to the pandemic? I think what it is we just have more population.
Bigger
If you look
cities
at
too.
Chatham, Kent, bigger
Yeah.
cities, more population, more density. When you look at Chatham, Kent, our low numbers, we've always been naturally social distancing in a way.
We're not
And then
very
you take our
social people, Ben, is how you say.
well, I'm just saying we don't live in 30
Yeah.
story skyscraper. You know what I mean? So we
400
don't live
square
in
foot
these
condo.
dense areas. So I think that is where, and you look at parts of the United States where the states have like zero to no cases. Even
Right.
Nevada has very limited cases, and they have casinos, probably the dirtiest germ spreading places in the world, and they have limited cases and limited people
We
getting
really
it.
don't. You know what? I think the answer, Jonathan and Bennett, we don't know, do we? We really don't know why in some
We
areas,
don't,
like in some cities, 200, 300,000 people, there's hardly anybody. In other smaller
right?
communities, there's many. I don't think we know. I don't.
Yeah. They should have isolated the vulnerable instead of shutting down the world.
I think it's the idea is moving forward, right? In business, what do you do now? What do you do now in your communities? And I think that's the challenge because, as I think Craig mentioned, if you don't have good statistics on what's happened, you can't help guide what you're going to do in the future. So this information is very vital if we could get it about what we need to be careful of, and especially when you structure the safety plan of your business. If you cater to an under 40 crowd, say you're in a bar business or a certain restaurant that caters to younger people, what do you need to meet their needs versus someone who's in a seniors type of facility or a seniors restaurant system? There's got to be a different approach, I would imagine.
Right. Okay, Henry, we're an hour and
Wow,
3 minutes already. How did that
time to
happen?
go. I don't know, Ben. Time to get back to business.
It's,
Is your day over? What are
yeah,
you running next? You athletic person? What do you do next?
I actually finished my run before we started this. I did, I think, a 7.49 kilometer
Congrats.
run just previous to this. Got showered up, came here.
Good for you.
So I'm on day 48. I remember when we
Awesome.
started the COVID conversations that we do on Tuesday night, and anybody that wants to tune in tomorrow night, Henry, you'll be Dr. Savek tomorrow night. We call you Henry tonight because we're talking business.
Yep.
But we'll be talking about, and it might be our last one,
Tomorrow night,
because
I
this
think.
whole thing's wrapping up. It could be our last one. So join us tomorrow night for that. But it was, I think, those conversations that made me take action to actually do something because I was always going to the gym. They took that away. I started running, and I've been doing that for 48 days, getting at least, almost 5 kilometers at least minimum a day.
Good for
So
you.
I feel good. Yeah, I think
Fantastic.
if you go back and look at the picture or the videos, my head is bigger in the first videos than it is now.
I'm
But
running 7 days a week on the treadmill every morning, but my head hasn't shrunk, Ben. I don't know what you're doing, but I wish I could make my head get smaller. But I do 7 days a week, and I hate it every day,
I
but I got to do it. So.
I had more. I had weight to lose. I had weight to lose. So hey guys, let's throw up this pireporters.com. Fighting for your community. Henry, do you want to talk about that because this is what we're helping us out here?
Yeah, it's a small thing we have where we have a investigative journalist write articles on the pireporters.com. He writes an article this week about municipalities. Do they really want to save money? On the Business Entrepreneur Weekly, he has a great story of a young man in his 20s who started a landscape business and how he's doing it under COVID. I love the PR reporters, and I also love the business side because it tells stories of businesses in our community. You can go there, and all you have to do is go 30 days, number 30 days, and it's free for 30 days on the coupon code, and then you can cancel it anytime. It's $1.99 a month after that. So we're employing a part-time journalist to write about things in our community, and it was really motivated by my reading the local newspapers that seemed to just do press releases for government. We thought we needed somebody out there asking tough questions, and I think that's what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, again, hey guys, thank you very much for watching. Craig said that's because you need a haircut, doctor.
Yeah, well,
that's why
yeah,
that.
I need a lot of things. You can't see all the other bad. See, when you get old, as you know, hair grows out of your. Never mind. Anyway, yeah, I'm hoping you get. Well, you have to book ahead now, though. And you know what? The masks are hard. How do you guys do with the fogging up glasses when you wear a mask? It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wear a mask in too, right? Not just the person working on you. You also have to wear a mask, I think. So I've got to get around that. Yeah, I got to get around that. I'll get a haircut or something. Yeah.
Fogged up. Okay. Hey guys, thank you very much again. If you're watching this on replay, be sure to comment below in the comment section to possibly win Constantino's Pizzeria Pizza and Wings, a large pizza and a pound of their delicious, tasty chicken wings. And we will see you guys tomorrow night. Henry, thank you very much again.
Great seeing you.
And thank you all. Great seeing you as always. We're gonna see each other in person one day. You know that.
I hope so. Yeah. See you, Ben.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Talk to you soon.
Bye.